Welcome to Nursing Hub YouTube channel. So, basically, ito yung first lecture video sa ating channel. Without further ado, let's start with the discussion. So, ang topic natin ngayon is about safety and infection control. But for this video, ang itatakil lang muna natin is about infection. Before we start po, quick reminder lang na hindi namin nilagay lahat ng details sa presentation. That's why kailangan nyo ng pen and paper for your notes, hindi para pahirapan kayong magsulat, but to encourage you to write para mas matandaan nyo ang lesson. To pass the NCLEX, you need to do 3 important things during your review. First, you need to listen to the lecturer. Second, write what you have learned. And third, read your notes to help retain the knowledge. So, ready your notes and let's begin. So, sisimulan natin sa pag-discuss ng infection. So, kapag sinabi nating infection, it is the presence of pathogenic microorganism in the body. So, uulitin ko po, infection is the presence of pathogenic microorganism in our body. Ibig sabihin, may mga harmful na bacteria, viruses, fungi o parasite na pumapasok sa katawan at posibleng mag-cause ng sakit. Kapag sinabi natin pathogenic, it means disease-causing. But remember, hindi lahat ng microorganism ay masama. Pero kapag sinabi nating pathogenic, ibig sabihin sila yung pwedeng magdulot ng sakit. So let's start with the first stage in IPA-CR acronym or IPA-CR, which is the incubation period. So kapag sinabi nating incubation period, this is the time from the entry of the microorganism in the body hanggang sa paglabas ng unang signs and symptoms. In short, infected ka na pero wala ka pang nararamdaman. This stage is usually asymptomatic, meaning walang obvious na symptoms si patient. For example, na-expose ka sa flu virus today, pero hindi ka pa nilalagnat or inuubo. That waiting time is called the incubation period. So, natatapos ang period na to when the first signs and symptoms appear, like mild fever, sore throat, rash. But take note, even if a patient is asymptomatic, they may still be contagious during this stage depending on the pathogen. So, kapag sinama rin natin, ang start ng incubation period is during the entry of microorganism, walang symptoms, ang tawag doon is asymptomatic, and it ends when the first sign or symptoms appear. So, ang next stage natin sa IPA-CR or IPA-CR is the prodromal period. This is when the first signs and symptoms start to appear, pero usually non-specific pa. So, anong ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin, hindi mo pa masasabi kung anong exact illness ito kasi parang generic symptoms lang muna. So, these are usually flu-like symptoms tulad ng fever, cough, diarrhea, constipation, and rashes. But during this stage, the pathogen is multiplying and the immune system is starting to react. Kaya nararamdaman na ni patient or ni client na may kakaiba sa katawan niya. Important reminder lang na this is the stage where the patient is usually most contagious kahit hindi pa malala ang symptoms. So again, take note na nagsisimula ang prodromal period during the start of early symptoms, non-specific symptoms. And patient is often most infectious during this time. So let's proceed on the third stage, which is the acute period. So this is the stage where the illness reaches its peak. Dito na lumalabas ang mga specific signs and symptoms ng sakit and sometimes even the pathognomonic sign. So what does that mean? Kapag sinabi natin specific symptoms, these are the signs na tumutukoy sa particular illness. At kapag sinabi natin pathognomonic sign, this is unique sign that points directly to a specific disease. For example, so lumalabas to sa NCLEX. Ano ba ang nakikita natin sa measles? Ano ang pathognomonic sign ng measles? So, ang pathognomonic sign ng measles is merong Koplik spots si patient. Kapag may chest pain with productive cough and fever, alam natin na merong pneumonia si patient. During the acute stage, the body is in full battle mode. The immune system is actively fighting the infection and the symptoms are often severe or full-blown. So, kung sa prodromal stage, parang may sakit ako, sa acute stage, ang feeling ni patient is, grabe, may sakit pala talaga ako. Now, let's go to the fourth stage of infection, which is the convalescence period. This is the stage where the signs and symptoms start to disappear. Ibig sabihin, nagsisimula ng bumalik yung lakas ni patient. The infection is being controlled, the immune system is doing its job, and the body is slowly recovering. This is the time when the patient starts feeling better, bumababa na ang lagnat, nawawala na yung ubo, lumalakas na yung katawan, nawawala na yung mga rashes. Pero reminder, even if the patient feels better, rest is still important. Some patients stop medication or activities too early, which can lead to relapse or complication. NCLEX tip lang, look for the question na nagsasabing the patient reports improvement in symptoms but asked if they can stop antibiotics. The correct answer is no. Antibiotics must be completed even during the convalescence period. In summary, ang convalescence period, dito nagsisimula na mag-fade yung signs and symptoms, the patient starts to recover, but rest and full treatment compliance are still needed. And finally, we are now at the last stage of the IPA-CR acronym, which is the R stands for resolution period. This is the stage where the body has fully recovered. Wala nang signs and symptoms, the infection is gone, and the patient is now considered as healthy. The immune system has successfully eliminated the pathogen, and the body has either returned to its normal state or in some cases, developed immunity to the same pathogen in the future. So sa madaling salita, gumaling na si patient or si client. No more fever, no more cough, no more discomfort, and fully resolved na ang sakit. But, be careful with trick questions. So some infection may appear resolved but can become chronic or recurrent, especially sa mga immunocompromised na patient. So ngayon natapos na natin yung different stages of infection, let's now move on to another super important NCLEX topic, which is the chain of infection. Bakit mahalaga ang chain of infection? Kasi kapag alam mo ang chain, alam mo rin kung saan siya puputulin, meaning you can help prevent and control the infection. Meron tayong 6 links sa chain of infection. Ito yung causative agent, reservoir, portal of exit, mode of transmission, portal of entry, and the host. So let's start with the first link in the chain of infection, which is the causative agent. Ang causative agent ay yung microorganism na responsible sa infection. In short, ito yung organism na nagdudulot ng sakit. The different types of causative agents are bacteria, virus, protozoa, and parasites. To effectively treat an infection, you must first identify the correct causative agent kasi iba-iba yung treatment for each type. That's why we do diagnostic tests like blood culture, urine culture, PCR for viruses, stool exam for parasites. Kasi doon mo malalaman kung anong treatment ang kailangan mo. Kaya nga, may kasabihan tayo na know the enemy before you attack. Next, let's move to the second link in the chain of infection, which is the reservoir. Ito yung natural habitat kung saan nakatira, lumalaki at dumadami ang causative agent or microorganism. In simple terms, dito sila nag-i-stay bago pa man mag-cause ng infection sa host. It includes humans, animals, and environment. To break the chain of infection at the reservoir level, nurses must practice proper sanitation, promote environmental hygiene, isolate infected patients if needed, and dispose waste properly. So now let's proceed to the third link of chain of infection, which is the portal of exit. Kapag sinabi natin portal of exit, it is the pathway kung saan lumalabas ang pathogen mula sa reservoir. In short, ito ang exit door ng microorganism para makapanghawa siya ng iba. So meron tayong different example of portal of exit. Basta tatandaan nyo, lahat ng putas na pwedeng labasan ng pathogen ang tawag dyan portal of exit. Like respiratory tract, gastrointestinal tract, genitourinary tract, skin or mucous membrane, and blood. And click tip, kapag ikaw ay tinanong about infection prevention, look for answers that block the portal of exit, such as wearing masks, proper disposal of secretion, covering wounds, and using gloves when handling bodily fluids. Let's now move on the fourth link in the chain of infection, and this one is super important para sa ating mga nurses. The fourth link in chain of infection is the mode of transmission. This is how the pathogen travels from one host to another. And guess what? This is considered the weakest link in the entire chain. Bakit? Because it is the easiest to break, especially through proper hand hygiene. Hand washing is the #1 way to stop infection transmission. Paulit-ulit itong sinasabi sa NCLEX, clinicals, at kahit sa mga infection control trainings. Kung may gusto kang tandaan today, ito yon: hand hygiene saves lives. Bago tayo mag-proceed sa next chain of infection, let's discuss first the different types of mode of transmission na pwede nating tandaan sa acronym na KAVEVE. C for contact, A for airborne, V for vehicle, and V for vector. So, let's start discussing about contact transmission. So, kapag sinabi natin contact transmission, it is the most common type of mode of transmission. Lagi natin itong nakikita sa hospital, sa bahay, at sa everyday situations natin. So, may 3 subtypes itong contact transmission, at i-discuss natin ito isa-isa. First is the direct contact. It happens through actual physical contact between the infected person and the new host. So, ang example ng direct contact is, nag-touch ka ng wound without using gloves, skin-to-skin contact, and sexual contact. So, ang common diseases transmitted via direct contacts are herpes, scabies, MRSA, and impetigo. So, anong gagawin natin as a nurse para maiwasan natin ang direct contact na sakit? You need to wear gloves, practice proper hand hygiene, and kailangan natin i-educate ang patient on safety practices. Second subtype is the indirect contact. It happens when the microorganism is transferred via contaminated object, also called fomites. So ano ba ang example ng mga fomites na usually na ginagamit natin during our duty? Stethoscope, thermometer, bed rails, BP apparatus, door handles, and linens. So, ang magagawa natin as a nurse para maiwasan ang indirect contact is you need to always disinfect the equipment, never reuse dirty linens or tools, and use disposable supplies when needed. And the third subtype is the droplet contact. This occurs through respiratory secretion from coughing, sneezing, or talking. These droplets are large particles and usually travel around 3 feet. So, ang common droplet spread disease natin are influenza, mumps, rubella, or the German measles. So, ang magagawa natin as a nurse is we need to wear a surgical mask, keep a safe distance at least 3 feet, and isolate the patient with droplet precaution. And also, we need to educate the patient, the client, and the relative about cough etiquette. So, let's now talk about another type of transmission, and this one is very dangerous if not handled properly. Ang transmission na to is airborne transmission. This happens through respiratory secretion, pero this time, it's not through droplet. It's through fine particles or aerosol. Mas maliit ito kaysa sa droplet, typically less than 5 micrometer in size, and they can travel more than 3 feet in the air. This means na yung microorganism na ito is suspended in the air for a long time and travel farther distance, kaya sobrang nakakahawa. The diseases spread via airborne transmission ay pwede niyong matandaan by using the acronym MTV plus CO. M for measles, T for tuberculosis, V is for varicella, and CO is for COVID-19. So, ang precautions for airborne transmission is you need to wear an N95 mask. This is a particulate respirator mask specifically designed to filter tiny airborne particles. Kasi, regular surgical masks are not enough for airborne pathogens, or diseases rather. The patient must be in an airborne isolation room. This is a negative pressure room. If not available, ensure proper ventilation, and the door should always be closed. Huwag pabaya as a nurse. Once the door is open, airborne pathogens can escape and infect others. And you need to limit transport of patients. So, if tinatransport natin si patient, ano ba ang kailangan niyang mask? N95 ba or surgical mask? So, if transport is needed, mask the patient with a surgical mask. Surgical mask is enough for the patient. So, NCLEX tip. Questions will often ask you what kind of mask to wear or how to set up a room for airborne transmission. The answer is always N95 mask for the nurse. Kapag tinatransfer natin si patient sa room niya, kailangan natin siyang suotan ng surgical mask, and yung room must be closed at all times and watch out for untoward signs and symptoms. Now, let's continue with another type of mode of transmission. So, these ones often overlooked pero very common siya in real-life situation. So, ang next natin is VE. The first VE in our KaVeVe is vehicle transmission. The keyword here is carrier. But take note, this time the carrier is non-living or inanimate. It happens when a non-living object like food, water, blood, or medication carries and delivers the pathogen to a new host. So, ang example natin sa food, contaminated food can be a vehicle for Salmonella. It causes food poisoning. E. coli, it causes GI infection. Improper food handling, undercooked meat, or contaminated utensils can spread the infection. So, sa water naman, contaminated water can carry Amoeba histolytica. It causes amoebiasis. It is common in areas with poor sanitation or after natural disasters. Other vehicle example is blood. Blood products, example, if not screened, can transmit HIV, hepatitis B and C. IV fluids, contaminated medication vials, milk or juices left unrefrigerated or hindi na ref. So, if the scenario involves contaminated food, water, blood, or medication, and there's no person-to-person interaction, think vehicle transmission. This is different from vector-borne, which involves living carriers like mosquitoes na itatackle natin on the next slide. So, let's now proceed to another type of mode of transmission, and ito yung sinasabi ko on the previous slide, which is the vector transmission. So, kapag sinabi natin vector transmission, it refers to a living carrier that can transmit a pathogen from one host to another. Usually, these are insects or animals. So, most common vector is the mosquito. Yes, mosquitoes are one of the most dangerous vectors worldwide. Here are few diseases spread by mosquitoes. The Japanese encephalitis, the Zika virus, West Nile virus. Meron din tayong, aside from mosquito, meron tayong ticks na pwedeng mag-cause ng Lyme's disease, fleas na can cause plague, and so on. So, tapos na natin i-discuss ang fourth link ng chain of infection, which is the mode of transmission. Let's now proceed to the fifth link, which is called the portal of entry. The portal of entry refers to the manner or a way kung paano nakakapasok ang pathogen sa susceptible host. So, kung may exit door, tinatawag nating portal of exit ng microorganism, meron din siyang entrance door, which is the portal of entry. At kapag successful siyang makapasok, infection can begin. So, ito yung pinaka-last na link sa chain of infection natin, which is the host or the susceptible host. So, the final link is the susceptible host. Ito yung tao na pwedeng ma-infect ng pathogen. Sa madaling salita, ito yung magiging victim ng pathogen natin. Ito yung client, ito yung patient. Ano ang nagpapasensitive sa isang host? Compromised host. May lowered resistance dahil sa iba't ibang dahilan. Like, immunocompromised, merong HIV si patient, nagki-chemotherapy si patient, kakagaling niya sa transplant. We have chronically ill, meron siyang diabetes, meron siyang COPD, emphysema, or si patient pwedeng matanda or very young, merong poor nutrition, nag-i-steroid. Other factors can include wala siyang immunity, unvaccinated, takot magpatusok, stress, fatigue, lack of sleep, and poor hygiene. And next tip, if you see a patient who is immunocompromised, elderly, or has a chronic illness, think susceptible host. So, ang role natin as a nurse, we need to protect the host by enhancing defenses, using precaution, and educating the patients and the relatives or families. So, ang nursing interventions to strengthen the host is we need to encourage and monitor immunization, promote good nutrition and hydration, educate on proper sleep and stress reduction, practice standard precautions and wearing PPE, supportive care like wound care, respiratory support, and etc. So, quick summary, kapag sinabi natin susceptible host, ito yung final link in the chain of infection. It is usually compromised or vulnerable individuals, and multiple factors can lower resistance, and our role as a nurse is to strengthen and protect the host. So, let's proceed to another topic, which is isolation versus quarantine. So, alam nyo ba na madalas malito ang mga tao sa dalawang ito? Pero, as a nurse, dapat we need to know the difference because each serves a different purpose in infection prevention. Let's now discuss and compare the two. Isolation. Kapag sinabi nating isolation, it is the separation of an infected individual during the period of communicability. So, ibig sabihin, may sakit ka na at nakakahawa ka na. Kaya kailangan ihiwalay ka. May sakit ka, nakakahawa, hihiwalay ka muna sa iba. So, ang example natin of period of communicability, kapag may chickenpox si patient, pwede na siyang makisalamuha sa iba until all vesicles have dried and crusted. Kapag may TB, until the patient has taken at least 2 weeks of effective treatment and symptoms improve. Kapag isolation, it protects others from active contagious individuals. And kapag sinabi naman natin quarantine, it is the separation of people who have been exposed to a contagious disease, but they are not sick yet. Wala ka pang sintomas, pero na-expose ka. Kaya kailangan mong ma-monitor. Wala kang sakit, pero na-expose ka. So, hihiwalay ka rin muna just in case mag-develop ka ng sakit. So, example, kapag may kasama ka sa bahay na may tuberculosis, kahit wala ka pang symptoms, you may be placed under quarantine for observation. So, NCLEX tip, kapag sinabi nating isolation, may sakit ka na, active case. kapag sinabi natin quarantine na expose ko lang observation period. This time, let's go over one of the most basic but most powerful concept in infection control, the standard precaution. So ano to? Kapag sinabi natin standard precaution, it is the minimum level of infection control that is applied to all patients, regardless kung may diagnosis sila or wala. Yes, lahat ng pasyente, kahit mukhang healthy, are treated as if they could be potential carriers of infection. So, applicable ang standard precaution sa patient with hypertension, patient with diabetes, patient in outpatient check-ups, emergency cases, basically everyone. So, kahit wala silang known infection, apply pa rin natin ang standard precaution. Now that we've covered the standard precaution, let's level up with something extra for extra contagious diseases, which is the transmission-based precaution. These are the additional precautions used for patients who are highly contagious, yung mga may sakit na madaling makahawa sa iba. It is used in addition to standard precaution. So, examples of highly contagious diseases are herpes, measles, TB, meningitis, rotavirus, etc. So, kapag may ganitong diagnosis ang pasyente, hindi sapat ang standard precaution lang. Kailangan ng special setup depending sa type of transmission. So, meron tayong acronym na CAD. Hindi siya coronary artery disease pero ang CAD natin dito is contact, airborne, and droplet precaution. Now, let's start with contact precaution. Kapag sinabi natin contact precaution, it is used for infection na inaipapasa through physical touch, whether by direct contact, o natapik na natin ito, skin to skin, or indirect contact via contaminated objects or surfaces. Applies to fecal oral transmission and skin to skin transmission, and ang kailangan nating PPE for contact transmission is gloves, gown, and we need to put the patient on a private room, pero pwede din natin siyang i-cohort if needed. And dapat may sariling equipment si patient like PP cuff and stethoscope and thermometer. Kapag sinabi natin fecal oral contact transmission, these diseases are spread when pathogens in stool get ingested accidentally, usually due to poor hand hygiene or contamination. Example is Hep B, especially when with fecal incontinence, cholera, salmonella. Cohorting is allowed. Kapag sinabi natin cohorting, meaning patient with the same infection can be placed together if no private room is available. Always emphasize hand hygiene and surface disinfection. Kapag sinabi naman natin skin-to-skin contact transmission, these are diseases spread through direct skin contact. Common sa mga open wounds or infected skin lesions. Use this NCLEX-friendly mnemonic CPAP. S for scabies, I for impetigo, P for pediculosis, which is the kuto or head lice, and A for abscesses, especially MRSA positive. So, next is airborne precaution na napasadahan na natin kanina. This type of precaution is used for diseases spread through tiny particles that can stay suspended in the air and travel more than 3 feet. So, mas malayo, mas matagal sa hangin, kaya mas delikado. So, ang precaution natin dito is you need to wear N95 mask. So, hindi sapat ang regular surgical mask, dapat N95 or higher. Kailangan natin ilagay si patient sa negative pressure room, also called as AIIR, or stands for Airborne Infection Isolation Room. It prevents contaminated air from escaping the room para hindi siya makahawa ng ibang pasyente. And kailangan natin isara yung door as always. So, nasabi ko na to kanina, ang mga airborne diseases natin ay pwede natin tandaan sa mnemonic na MTV plus CO, pero this time meron tayong additional na D, MTV plus COD. These are diseases under airborne precaution. M for measles, T for tuberculosis, V for varicella or the chickenpox, stands for COVID-19, and D is disseminated herpes zoster. So, lahat sila is highly contagious and pwedeng kumalat through air. So, last is the droplet precaution. Droplet precaution is used for infection spread by large respiratory droplet like those from coughing, sneezing, or talking. So, these droplets usually travel about 3 feet or less, and they do not stay suspended in the air like airborne particles. So, ang precaution natin for droplet precaution is we need to wear surgical mask, standard mask, not N95. Private room is preferred, but door can remain open. But avoid letting other patients come close. Maintain safe distance more than 3 feet. NCLEX mnemonic is Spider-Man. S stands for scarlet fever, sore throat, P, pneumonia, pertussis, I for influenza, D for diphtheria, E for epiglottitis, R for rubella or German measles, M for mumps and meningitis, and AN for adenovirus. All of these involve respiratory secretion, kaya important ang surgical mask. If the patient needs to leave the room, have them wear a surgical mask, educate them on proper cough etiquette, and shorten transport time. Thank you for watching our first lecture video. Kindly like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nursing Hub YouTube channel. Happy learning, USRNs! Bye!